3:08 p.m. 15:08 Israel Standard Time. Daf Yomi, Tractate Makos, Daf Yudamin Beis at the top of the page with the word Miklat. It was taught in a brayso that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says in the previous daf, now on the top of 10b. Miklat hayat kasu bal parashas derachim kidei shiyakel letzea v'yivnu l'sham. Amar Rav Gad ma'ikro tachin lecha derech asei lecha achana l'derech. Refuge was written on signs at every crossroads marking the path. At all crossroads marking the path to a city of refuge, so that the unintentional murderer would identify the route to the city of refuge and turn to go there. Rav Kahana said, what is the verse from which this is derived? Prepare for you the road. Deuteronomy 19:3, meaning perform for you preparation of the road. Rav Chama bar Chanina patach la pitcha lehai parashta me'acham tov yesh al Hashem al ken yorech atayim adarech im lechatayim yorech kan v'chom letzadikim. Apropos that halacha, the Gemara cites that Rav Chama bar Chanina introduced this portion with regard to the halacha of exile with an introduction from here. Good and upright is God. Therefore, he directs sinners along the way. Psalms 25:8. He said, if he directs sinners by commanding the placing of signs, directing them to the city of refuge, it may be inferred a fortiori that he will assist and direct the righteous along the paths of righteousness. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish patach la'apitcha la'iparash t'me'acha ואשר לא צד אלימין על ידו וגומר כאשר יאמר משל אקדמוני מרשום יזרשע. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish introduced this portion with an introduction from here. It is stated with regard to an unintentional murderer and one who did not lie in wait, but God had caused it to come into his hand, and I will appoint you a place where he may flee. Exodus 21:13. Now, this is puzzling. Why would God cause one to sin in this manner? The verse states, as the ancient parable says, from the wicked comes forth wickedness. 1 Samuel 24:13, evil incidents befall those who have already sinned. במה הכזוב מדבר בשני בני אדם שהורס הנפש אחד הרג ושואג ואחד הרג והזיד וזה אין עדים הקדוש ברוך הוא מזמינן לפונדק אחד זה שהרג והזיד יושב תחת הסולם וזה שהרג ושואג יורד בסולם ונופל עליו הרגו זה שהרג והזיד נהרג. Rish Lakish explains in this light the verse, but God caused it to come to his hand, may be understood. With regard to what scenario is the verse speaking? It is with regard to two people who killed a person, where one killed unintentionally while the other killed intentionally. For this person, there are no witnesses to his action. And for that person, there are no witnesses to his action. Therefore, neither receive the appropriate punishment of exile and execution, respectively. The Holy One, blessed be He, summons them to one in. This person who killed intentionally sits beneath a ladder, and that person who killed unintentionally descends the ladder, and he falls upon him and kills him. There were witnesses to that incident, and therefore that person who killed intentionally is killed, and that person who killed unintentionally is exiled, each receiving what he deserved. Amar Rav Huna מילה מרבונה, מרבי אלעזר, מן התורה, מן הנביאים, מן הכתובים, בדרך שאדם רוצה ללך, בה מוליכין אותו. Very famous line. Apropos, the path upon which God leads people, the Gemara cites a statement that Rabba bar Ravuna says, and some say it was a statement of Ravuna says that Rabbi Elazar says. From the Torah, from the prophets, and from the writings, one learns that along the path a person wishes to proceed, one leads and assists him. Min Torah dichsiv lo telech imayim uchetiv umlech itam. Min הנביאים dichsiv ani Hashem Elokecha מלמדך להועיל מדרכך בדרך תלך. זו תלך. מן הכתובים כתיב אם בעצם הוא יליץ מלמדים ייתן חן. One learns this from the Torah, as it is written, that one learns that there's this idea that whatever a person wants to do, they actually get assistance in doing that, whether it's good or bad. In the Torah, it's written that initially God said to Bilam with regard to the contingent dispatched by Balaam, you shall not go with them. Numbers 22:12. And after Bilam implored him and indicated his desire to go with them, it is written, arise, go with them. Numbers 22:20. One learns this from the prophets, as it is written, I am the Lord your God who teaches you for your prophet, who leads you on the path that you go. Isaiah 48:17. Indicating that along the path that one seeks to go, God will direct him. One learns this from the writings, as it is written, if one seeks the cynics, he will cause him to join the cynics, but to the humble he will give grace. Proverbs 3:34. Indicating that one chooses cynicism. If one chooses cynicism, God will direct him there, and if he opts for humility, God will grant him grace. Amar Avuna Roiseach Shigala La'yir Miklat Umatzah Goledan Al-Gabatur Kasavar V'lo En Mishpat Mavet V'Goledan Uktiv. The Gemara resumes its discussion of Yehoshua of exile. Ravuna says, in the case of an unintentional murderer who was exiled to a city of refuge, and the blood redeemer found him on the way and killed him, he is exempt. The Gemara notes, Ravuna holds that the verse, lest the blood redeemer pursue the murderer and strike him fatally, and for him there is no sentence of death, as he did not hate him from before. Deuteronomy 19:6. It is written with regard to the blood redeemer, teaching that the blood redeemer is not liable to be executed for killing the murderer. Okay? Meizvei v'lo ein mishpat mavet רוצח כתוב מדבר. אתה אומר רוצח או אינו אלא מגואל אדם. כשהוא אומר והוא לא שונא לו מתמולשו שם, אבי אומר רוצח כתוב מדבר. The Gemara raises an objection to the opinion of Rav Huna from a Braita, and for him there is no sentence of death. The verse is speaking with regard to the unintentional murderer, teaching that the unintentional murderer is not liable to be executed. That is why the Jewish people were commanded to establish cities of refuge to protect him. The Braita proceeds to prove that the verse is written with regard to the murderer. Do you say that it is speaking with regard to the unintentional murder, or is it speaking only with regard to the blood redeemer? When it states in an earlier verse, and he did not hate him from before, Deuteronomy 19:4, it is clear that the reference is to the unintentional murderer, and therefore you must say that in the phrase, and for him there is no sentence of death. The verse is speaking with regard to the unintentional murder. Ha de Amar ki haythana detanya v'lo en mishpat mavet b'go en adam hakatuv medaber ata omer b'go adam hakatuv medaber o eino elo berosach כשהוא אומר כי לא שונאהו לא מתמוך שלשום הרי רוצח אמור מה אני מקיים ולא אין משפט מוות בגואל אדם הכתוב מדבר. The Gemara answers Rav Huna states his opinion in accordance with the opinion of that following Tana, as it is taught in another Braita, and for him there is no sentence of death. The verse is speaking with regard to the blood redeemer. The Braita clarifies, do you say that it is speaking with regard to the blood redeemer, or is it speaking only with regard to the unintentional murderer? When it states, as he did not hate him from before, the unintentional murder is already stated, as that phrase certainly is referring to him. How do I realize the meaning of the verse, and for him there is no sentence of death? It is with regard to the blood redeemer that the verse is speaking. Tanan Moisrim lo yishneis tamir chachamim shem lo yalgelu b'derech v'yidabru elav v'elav dimos rubei di'i katil bal katalahu. The Gemara cites proof concerning Rav Huna's ruling from the Mishnah. We learned in the Mishnah, and they would provide the unintentional murderer fleeing to a city of refuge with 2 Torah scholars, due to the concern that perhaps the blood redeemer will seek to kill him in transit, and in that case they will talk to the blood redeemer. The Gemara asks, what is it not that the Torah scholars forewarned him that if he kills the unintentional murderer, he would be liable to be executed? That contradicts Rav Huna's opinion that a blood redeemer who kills the unintentional murder is exempt. Lo. No. Kedetanya midaber elav. Dvarim omrim lo. Al tinhag bo minhag shel chedonim. Ishkaga ba'aseh liado. Rabbi Meir omer hu medaber al yedei atzmo shenemar v'zeh devar harotzeach. Amru lo harbe shlichut osa. The Gemara rejects this proof. No, the statement of the Torah scholars to the blood redeemer can be explained as it is taught in a Braita, and they will speak to him about matters appropriate to him. They say to the blood redeemer, do not accord him treatment appropriate for murderers, as it was unintentionally that he came to be involved in the incident. Rabbi Meir says the unintentional murders too speaks on his own behalf to dissuade the blood redeemer, as it is stated, and this is the matter of the murderer who shall flee there and live. Deuteronomy 19:4, indicating that the murderer himself apologizes and speaks to the blood redeemer. The sages says Rabbi Meir, many matters are performed more effectively through agency. Amar Mar. Amar Mar. Amar Mar. Vishkaga Baba Yalim Shito. The Imeveze Bar Galazu. The Gemara analyzes the Braita. The Master says in the Braita, it was unintentionally that he came to be involved in the incident. The Gemara asks, isn't this obvious? As if it were intentionally that he killed a person, he is liable. Is he liable to be exiled? The right answer is yes. Even intentional murderers flee to a city of refuge on occasion. I don't get that one. Ratanya, Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, Tzchila, Echad, Shogeg, Echad, Mezim, Ekdivin, Lo, Mikla. The The Gemara continues, and so it is taught and right Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda says, initially, either one who killed another unintentionally or one who killed another intentionally would hurry and flee to the cities of refuge, and the court in his city would send for him and would bring him from there to stand trial. And we were saying that even in occasion that even an intentional murder would go to a city of refuge, which is news to me. I never knew that. Mishin is chayav misaharu haraguhu. Shenever v'sholchu zikni yiro v'lakhu also. Misham v'nasnu also b'yad goal adam v'mes. Mishin lo nitchayav b'toruhu shenemar v'tzilu ha'ida eser v'tzeach b'yad goel hadam. Mishin nitchayav galus. מחזירין אותו למקומו שנאמר וישיבו אותו העדה אל עיר מקלטו אשר נס שמה. The Brita continues with regard to one who was found liable to receive the death penalty for intentional murder. After the trial, the court would execute him, as it is stated, and the elders of his city shall send and take him from there and deliver him into the hands of the blood redeemer, and he shall die. Deuteronomy 19:12. And with regard to one who was not found liable to receive the death penalty, for example, if they deemed that it was due to circumstances beyond his control, they freed him, as it is stated, and the congregation shall rescue the murderer from the hands of the blood redeemer. Numbers 35:25. With regard to one who was found liable to be exiled, the court would restore him to his place in the city of refuge, as it is stated, and the congregation shall judge between the murderer and the blood redeemer, and the congregation shall restore him to his city of refuge that he fled there. Numbers 35:24-25. Rabbi Omer miatzman hen golin ki sevurin hen echad shoy echad meisid koed lois ein yoidin shvishoy koed lois b'meisid ein koedos. The writer continues. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says that the Torah does not command intentional murderers to flee to a city of refuge. Rather, the Torah is cognizant of the fact that in practice, intentional murderers would exile themselves on their own, as they thought that they would be admitted to these cities which would provide refuge for both unintentional and intentional murderers. And they do not know that only those who murder unintentionally are admitted to these cities, but those who murder intentionally are not admitted. Rabbi Elazar, Ish V'Dobrovsky Meno Koteles, Shneimar V'Diver Es Neziknei Ha'ir Ha'i Es Divarav V'Lo Shehushvu Divrehen L'Divarav. Rabbi Elazar says an unintentional murderer is not admitted to a city of refuge, whose majority consists of unintentional murderers, as it is stated with regard to an unintentional murderer who fled to a city of refuge. And he shall speak his matters in the ears of the elders of that city, Joshua 20, verse 4, indicating that there is some novel element in the matters that he seeks to convey to the elders of the town, but not when their matters are equal to his matters, as those elders made the same statements when they arrived at the city of refuge as unintentional murderers. Rabbi Elazar says, Yeshem ba Zikenim Enokoteles, Debeinan Ziknia Yeveleka Itmar Ir Shein Va Zikenim, Rabbi Ami Asi, Chadamar Koteles, Chadamar, Omer Enokoteles, Leman Damar Enokoteles, Ina Ziknia Ir, Veleka Leman, Damar Koteles, Mitzvah Viama. And Rabbi Elazar says that unintentional murder is not admitted to a city in which there are no elders, as we require the fulfillment of the verse, and he shall speak in the ears of the elders of the city, Joshua 20, verse 4. And there are none. It was stated, a city in which there are no elders is the subject of a dispute between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. One says an unintentional murderer is admitted there, and one says an unintentional murder is not admitted there. The Gemara explains, according to the one who says that an unintentional murder is not admitted to a city in which there are no elders, his reasoning is due to the fact that we require the presence of the elders of the city, and there are none. According to the one who says that an unintentional murder is admitted there, his reasoning is that he holds that speaking to the elders is merely a mitzvah ab initio, but it does not affect the city's status as a city of refuge. V'ir she'ein ba zikenim. Rabbi Yehuda Chadamar nasim ba ben sorer moreh. Chadamar ein nasim ba ben sorer moreh. Leman damar ein nasim ba sorer moreh. Ve'enan zikni iro b'leka leman damar nasim ba ben sorer moreh. Mitzvah b'yama. And the city in which there are no elders is the subject of another dispute between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. One says one can become a wayward and rebellious son in it. One says one cannot become a wayward and rebellious son in it. The Gemara explains, according to one who says that one cannot become wayward and rebellious son in it, is due to the fact that we require the presence of the elders of the city, as it is written, and his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the city and the gate of his place. Deuteronomy 21:19. And there are none. According to the one who says that one can become a wayward and rebellious son, is a son in it, the presence of the elders is merely a mitzvah ab initio. Okay. V'ir shema zakeni Rabbi Ami v'yasi chadamar v'ya egla rufa. Yechadamar v'ya egla rufa. L'man damar eina v'ya egla rufa be'inan ziknei irahi. In a city in which there are no elders is subject to another dispute between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. One says, if a corpse was discovered proximate to that city, the inhabitants of the city bring a heifer whose neck is broken. And one says the inhabitants of the city do not bring a heifer whose neck is broken. The Lord, according to the one who says that the inhabitants of the city do not bring a heifer whose neck is broken, is due to the fact that we require the presence of elders of the city. It is written, and the elders of that city shall bring the calf to a rough valley. Nachal 8:10. Deuteronomy 21:4. There are no elders, according to the one who says that the inhabitants of the city bring a heifer whose neck is broken. The presence of the elders is merely mitzvah l'chatchila, but it doesn't have to be that. It just could be anybody. Rabbi Chanina says, for what reason was the portion discussing murder stated?